The Witch of Fife. Many, many years ago, a very unlikely couple lived in Fife. A quirky old woman and her very quiet husband. She was full of life and always had a sparkle in her eye. He preferred to live life at a much slower pace. The neighbours took extra special care never to look at the old lady the wrong way, as there were whispers in the village that she was a witch. The old man also wondered if his wife was a witch, as sometimes she disappeared in the twilight hours and stayed out all night. Curiosity started to get the better of him, and every night when he heard the door, he'd run to see what his wife was up to. But when he got there, she had already vanished. One day he thought, "Why don't I just ask her if she's a witch?" So he did. His blood ran cold when she casually said, "Yes, I'm surprised it's taken you this long to ask." She was happy that it was no longer a secret between them and smiled cheerily. "If you promise not to tell anyone, I'll let you know what I get up to on my next midnight adventure." The old man promised, as he thought it was probably best if he knew what his wife was up to. He didn't have to wait long, as she disappeared out that very night. It was a new moon, and as everyone knows, this is a favourite time for witches to go about their business. She returned in the early hours of the morning, and he asked what she'd been up to. "I met 4 friends at the old kirk. We mounted branches of green bay tree and stalks of hemlock and turned them into horses. We rode as fast as the wind past foxes, deers and owls until we reached the top of Bell Lomond. There we met the good folk who gave us a few horns of beer." A wee man jumped out from under a great mossy stone with a tiny set of bagpipes under his arms, and he played such wonderful music. It was so wonderful that the fish jumped in and out of the loch below, crows and heron flew to nearby trees, and rabbits came out of their warrens to listen. We danced and laughed until we could dance no more. Then we made our way back to the old kirk in our steeds. The old man listened to his wife in silence and shook his head. "What's the point in all your dancing? You'd have been much more comfortable at home." At the next new moon, the old woman disappeared off into the night again. When she got back, she said, "We made boats out of cockle shells and sailed to Norway. When we got there, we rode on invisible horses made from wind. It was amazing. We flew over mountains and glens until we reached the land of the Lapps. It was so beautiful, all covered in snow. We were there for the great festival. Well, to tell you the truth, everyone was there. Elves, fairies, pixies, brownies, mermaids, warlocks, even the wild hunt themselves, who are never looked upon by mortal eyes, were there for the celebration. We danced and feasted and sang. And then the elves told us certain words, wonderful words, that can carry you through the air and take you anywhere you want to go in an instant. They also loose any bolts, break any chains, and open any doors that bar your way." The old man grumped. "Why would you want to be in such a place? You'd have been a lot warmer in your own bed." But when the old woman returned from her next adventure, he suddenly became more interested. She told him, "I met up with my friends at Bessie's cottage. After a few drinks, someone mentioned the rare wine that's in the bishop's cellar. We decided it would be great to liberate a few bottles, as he certainly doesn't need them. We went to the chimney and said the magic words that the elves gave us and flew right up the chimney like whiffs of smoke, whizzing through the air until we reached the bishop's palace. All the bolts and bars opened instantly, and we went down into the cellar to sample the wine, and fine wine it was too." When he heard this, the old man jumped out of his chair in delight, for he loved good wine above all things, but sadly it seldom came his way. "You're the best wife in the world," he cried. "Quick, tell me the words so I can go to the cellar and sample his lordship's wine for myself." But she took his hand. "Oh no, I can't do that. If I told you, you'd tell someone else and they'd tell another. Before you know it, everybody would know the magic words, and the whole world would be turned upside down. Soon everyone would be flying about and poking into each other's business and taking anything and everything they ever wanted. You'll just have to be happy with the things you already know. No matter how hard the old man tried to persuade his wife to tell him the magic words, her lips were sealed on the matter. But he could be cunning when he needed to be, and the thought of the bishop's wine was just too much. So night after night he hid in Bessie's cottage, hoping the witches would meet again. Each night passed uneventfully, until his patience was finally rewarded, and the witches gathered once more under the friend's roof. He listened to their laughter, and his ears pricked up as soon as they began to talk about the festival in Lapland, the magic they had gained, and how lovely the bishop's wine had tasted. With a hint of mischief in their hearts, the witches ran to the fireplace, and one after another climbed onto a chair and repeated the magic words. Whoosh! They disappeared like puffs of smoke up the chimney. The old man crawled out of his hiding place and ran to the fire. He stood in a chair and repeated the words. Up the chimney he went. Whoosh! He found himself flying through the air after his wife and friends. And as witches aren't in the habit of looking over their shoulders, they didn't see the old man until they reached the bishop's palace. As they headed towards the cellar, they weren't too pleased to find an uninvited guest to their wine tasting. But the old man's wife vouched for him, and there was nothing else for it. So rather than waste any time, they settled down to enjoy themselves. They tapped one cask of wine, then another, and another, but drinking only a little of each, not too much. For you don't become a witch without a little bit of wisdom, and they knew if they wanted to get home before daybreak, you'd have to keep their heads clear. But the old man was not so wise. He sipped this wine and that wine, enjoying every drop until at last he became quite drowsy. He lay down on the floor and fell fast asleep. Seeing this, his wife thought she would teach him a lesson not to be so curious in the future. So when it was time to go, the witches left without waking the old man up. He slept peacefully for hours, until two of the bishop's servants came down to the cellar to get some wine for the master's table. They got the fright of their lives when they tripped up over the old man in the darkness. Quickly, they grabbed the intruder and demanded to know how he'd got there. The poor old man was startled out of his sleep and had rather a sore head from drinking too much wine. He stammered something about flying in the midnight wind from Fife, and that was enough for him to be clapped in irons and brought before the bishop. It was obvious to the bishop that this man must be a warlock. How else could he have appeared out of thin air in his wine cellar? He quickly ordered that the man should be burned alive. The old man's heart sunk. He wished with all his heart that he'd followed his own advice and stayed quietly at home instead. He felt panic as the servants dragged him out into the courtyard. They put a great chain around his waist, fastened it to a great iron stake, then piled wood around his feet, and set it alight. At the sight of the first tiny flames, the poor old man wept as he knew his end had come. But he had completely forgotten that his wife was a witch. Just as a little tongue of flame had begun to singe his trousers, there was a swish and a flutter in the air. A great grey bird with outstretched wings suddenly appeared in the sky. It swooped down and perched on the old man's shoulder. It had a little red nightcap in its beak, and with a gentle swish, it pulled the cap onto the old man's head. The bird gave one fierce "Rah!" and flew away again. That noise was the sweetest sound the old man had ever heard. To his ears alone, it was the voice of his wife whispering the words of magic to him. Reminded of the words that had gotten him into trouble in the first place, the old man realised they could also help him escape. The old man laughed as he repeated the words. His chains fell off instantly, and with a whoosh he disappeared into the air like a puff of smoke. Those who had gathered to watch him burn couldn't believe what had just happened, and stood dumbstruck for a while, at least until they realised they might as well get on with the rest of their day. The old man, however, flew straight to Fife, laughing all the way. He sighed with relief when he found himself safely at home. For some reason, from that day on, he never tried to find out his wife's secrets again. As most people with a little wisdom will tell you, sometimes it's better to leave witches to their own devices.